primary today, and this is unprecedented. This has never happened. Now, if it was a general election, there is stipulations in the charter which say some kind of act of that we don't know of in nature, you can call it off, but for a primary, there's nothing in the charter that says you can call it off. But obviously, there are a lot of polling stations down in that area of the World Trade Center, and if not inside the Trade Center, and obviously those are closed right now. So we will know in the next hour or so whether the primary has been postponed for a day or so.
Yeah, I don't see how they could go forward with it.
No, not at all. It has lost its
that would be a long shot.
Yeah,
certainly only from a standpoint of, if not from a standpoint of polling places being closed, but from people losing interest in an election or in the face of an overwhelming tragedy.
I just left my home to come here, and it's kind of scary because all you hear are the constant screams of ambulances and fire trucks racing through the street. Anybody, I was walking trying to get to a bus or a taxi or anything to get here, and all anybody could talk about was, what's going on? Do you have any information? It is the talk of the town right now, and rightly so. My husband, as you know, works down near the World Trade Center. He called me a little after 9 o'clock this morning. He had just gotten into his building. He was walking up the steps, and he heard a loud bang. He said it felt like an earthquake, and all of a sudden, he said it looked like confetti coming from the sky. Now, he's a few blocks away. And he didn't know what it was. He went up into his office. He has a clear view of the World Trade Center from there. And he claims he saw either people falling out of the building or jumping out of the building this morning. And my husband is pretty unflappable. He's an attorney. He was shaken up this morning.
Excuse me 1 second, Rosanna, because I think we're about to see a picture of, this is a few moments ago. Watch this. This is the side of the building just collapsing. There you see. There you see. Now, whether that is the result of just further weakening of the structure of the building, or whether that's yet another terrorist attack, I don't know. I would imagine the former, that the building structure just weakens to the point where the wall, no longer able to sustain the weight, just caved. But that was the east side of the north tower of the World Trade Center caving in. And just a few moments ago, we had a woman named Brandy on the phone, and she told us it was another loud roar, and she told us
jets, copy.
Also, this is Kai, can you hear me? Kai, tell us what we're looking at here. These are fighter jets, one would presume, to prevent any further attacks by planes. If they see any plane coming now, it better not be an innocent commercial flight, because I should imagine those fighter jets are up there to intercept and shoot down any plane that comes their way.
No, I think everything has been grounded.
That's
by
right. All the airports across the country have been closed. And I heard that right now they're inspecting, and really inspecting, Air Force One, because it's been around this morning, and before the president gets on it, they want to make sure that it's a safe plane to get on.
Okay.
Okay. This is Chopper 5 to Corporon and Wolf. Corporon and Wolf. The studio's requesting exact locations from you guys. I want to know where you are.
Kai, can you hear me? Kai Simonson? We're getting audio from Kai, but apparently he cannot hear me. If somebody can tell him to tell us what he sees from his vantage point and what's going on up in the air there, we'd appreciate it. Yeah.
This is Chopper 5 to Corporon and Wolf. Corporon and Wolf. What are your locations?
All right. He's talking to the assignment folks here at Channel 5, trying to set up some sort of contact. So apparently we can hear him, but he cannot hear us. So we have no way to tell him to talk to us.
Well, a lot of our communication stuff is on top of the World Trade Center.
Yes.
Yep.
So I imagine all TV stations, all cell phones, all that stuff that we rely on every day are, a big problem right now.
There's some of the folks standing on the ground wondering what to make of all this. Again, shortly before 9 o'clock this morning, the first of 3 terrorist attacks on this country, 2 here in New York, 1 in Washington. a plane slammed into the upper floors of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And then a few minutes later, another plane, pretty large planes as well.
You sit here and you look at this, and
Just one second.
right ahead, James.
That second explosion took place when the second plane went in. Then a third explosion took place at the Pentagon, and now there are unconfirmed reports that a fourth explosion, the second at the Pentagon, has also taken place. So we're flying by the seat of our pants here, trying to keep up with this terrible terrorist activity. I'm sorry, interrupted.
Oh, not at all, James. I'm just saying you sit here and you look at this, and as journalists, you are not supposed to inject any of your personal feelings. But I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this, and I'm mad as hell. I really am. I am so angry that something like this could take place in our country.
Disrupt our lives, yeah.
Well, I think it's also frightening. I mean, let's face it, we're journalists, but we also live in this city.
Thank you.
We have children that we're raising in this city, so we have concerns just like everybody else, and we want to keep this place safe. And who would think in our lifetime that we would see something like this?
Yeah. Should we have been aware of this, Mr. Jaffe? Should we have been some inkling? Because apparently we got blindsided here.
I would think, and the government has various motives, and each of the various pieces of the government have other intelligence sources, but I would hope that we would be on top of some of this. And in years past, sometimes we weren't, sometimes we weren't, but at least we had an inkling. It seems to me one of the things we have to do is to increase our intelligence gathering faculties domestically as well as overseas, especially domestically. And that may frighten some people because they don't want to have their rights compromised. On the other hand, we have to give up something in order to be safe. To the extent that they've accomplished our becoming fearful and you becoming angry, they've created a situation we have to rectify, and we have to do it quickly.
Do you think the FBI is going to come under a lot of fire for letting something like this slip? This obviously seems like a well-planned attack on New York and Washington, and we don't know.
Allow me to interrupt you, please. This is Rick Leventhal with Fox News Channel.
The smoke is obviously cleared somewhat. Ma'am, she's with DCPI. Can you talk to us for just a second? Bring us up to speed. Obviously, people have their hands full out here. It's not easy getting anyone to talk.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, tell me where you were. What happened? What did you see? What did you hear?
First, I went on Canal Street. I saw the fire. I saw the two buildings. I'm thinking it was a bomb because it's two of them. Anyway, when I got there, I tried to save people because I'm a doctor. When I tried to save people, the moment we heard a big explosion coming down, everything just went black. Everything came down, glass started popping. People got hurt. Stuff went on top of them. And it was a big explosion, and everything got dark, real dark, like snow. You can see behind me, oh, this is not snow, this is all from the building. It was a terrible nightmare.
Where exactly were you standing when this happened?
I was standing right in front of the World Trade Center.
So you were down the block here? And
Right
you came
there in the
running this
middle,
way?
right, yeah.
Did you get hurt at all?
No, not me.
Did you see anyone around you getting caught up in it?
Yeah, I was with the firemen, we got hurt, we all went inside to this dark, we was inside the building when everything happened, but we came out alive.
What's your name?
My name is Dr. Angel.
Were you able to assist anyone before this happened?
Yes, I did. I help a lot of patients, a lot of them.
Well, there are a lot more people that need help now.
Need help,
so
yeah.
if you're capable, maybe you should...
Yes, I'm going to go back. I lost my ID, but I try to go back.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for
All
talking
right.
to us.
Thanks.
We, can you talk to us for a second? Jesus, just... Huh?
I saw a trade start down.
Well, tell me what you saw.
All right, I was coming down 6th Avenue, running down to meet this truck.
Pat Muskoff, Fox News engineer. Go ahead. Go ahead. Start again.
I'm coming down 6th Avenue. All the people traffic was running up. And I'm looking up, I'm trying to call the station, trying to find where we are. And I look up and the tower just starts crumbling down. And everybody in the street just stops and started crying and bawling. And I'm standing next to a fireman, he said, yeah, they just bombed the Pentagon too. So that's basically where I saw. Then I came running down here. Traffic's not allowed past Warren Street, and you see what's here.
Do you know which of the two towers?
The one without the main antenna on it. The second one that was hit.
That's the further south? This more southerly tower?
I think it's Tower 1. I'm not too sure the exact.
And you actually saw it from the top down
I saw it it came sideways like this. It just collapsed in on top of itself. It was amazing, but very upsetting to watch the whole thing come tumbling down. So we all thought it was another explosion, and we looked up. Instead of being two, there's one.
Just an unbelievable scene here. It's almost difficult to describe what's going on here. It's unbelievable. You can see that we have One World Trade Center completely engulfed in flames. The upper floor is completely engulfed in flames. Two World Trade Center has collapsed. It collapsed, I guess, about 15 minutes or so ago. We had two planes, as you've been hearing. One plane hit One World Trade a short time ago. I guess it's going back about 45 minutes to maybe to an hour or so ago. And then shortly after that, another plane. We actually witnessed the plane coming up the East River, and it seemed to be getting dangerously close to World Trade, and we thought that it was going to hit, and it did in fact hit. We saw the explosion and all of the debris flowing down toward the lower Manhattan there, and it's just incredible how right now what we see on the ground down here is that the entire area of lower Manhattan right now is completely engulfed in a big black cloud of smoke. Now we did have some people down there that were shooting some tape for us. They said that the entire area is completely engulfed in smoke right now. It's very, very difficult to see at this point. And right now our concerns in terms of what we're doing up here is that the area, as we understand it, has been sealed off. The airspace has been sealed off. So they are not allowing people to come in and out of the airspace at this point. We are able to stay here right now, but no commercial traffic is being allowed to exit or enter the airspace right now. And we did hear some reports that there were hundreds of people. We did hear reports that there were hundreds of people, if not more, on the ground that were injured. There are obviously numerous casualties involved in all of this. Now, in terms of flying right now, our concern right now is just basically keep an eye out for any planes, any suspicious planes that enter the airspace. Right now, by definition, any plane that we see enter the airspace, if it's not an American fighter jet, which we have seen, or if it's not a news helicopter or a police helicopter, is suspicious at this point, and we need to get out of their way.
77th floor in One World Trade. You were in the building?
Yes. We did not see the debris hit anything specific on the ground because we are being kept at a distance right now. We're being kept at 3-4 miles away. Actually, I'm being told now by my pilot we're being kept at a minimum of 5 mile radius of the World Trade Center. That is for our own safety and also for the safety of the people on the ground. The debris, it's very, very difficult to determine which way the debris fell. It may have fallen toward the east, but I'm really not sure at this point which way the building collapsed. It was very difficult to see. It kind of erupted in a big cloud of dust and smoke at this point, so it was very difficult to see which way the debris fell, but it did appear that it may have fallen over toward the east side of the island. You can see it's an incredible scene here. It's almost the entire southern tip of Manhattan completely engulfed in smoke at this point. And we are told that it is virtually impossible to see down there. I can only imagine what emergency crews are going through at this point, not being able to see, trying to fight a fire. Right now, it's just kind of a moot point. Basically, I would think that right now the priority is just to preserve life at this point. The fire continues to burn at the top of One World Trade. Two World Trade, as I told you a little bit earlier, collapsed, and it appeared as though it was collapsing over toward the east side of the island, but that has not been confirmed. I can't be sure of that completely. But just an incredible scene out here. It's really almost difficult to describe.
Again, the words of Kai Simonson, who is up in the air in Chapter 5. He was up in the air with his camera focused on the building when the second plane rammed into the World Trade Center, and it must have been quite a sight for him and quite an experience.
So Jim,
I'm told Mario Bosques, excuse me, Rosanna, but I'm told Mario Bosques is on the phone from Beth Israel Hospital. Mario?
Hello, Jim. I'm at Beth Israel Medical Center, as you said, in downtown Manhattan. On the east side, is along with Bellevue Medical Center, has become a staging area to receive the injured, the victims from, of course, the World Trade Center situation, the tragedy that took place there. We are seeing many ambulances pulling up with people coming on wheelchairs and stretchers, bandaged about the head and arms and legs. They don't appear at this point to be major injuries, but they appear to be stunned as they're taken out of the hospital, out of the ambulance into the hospital. We understand Bellevue at this point is also receiving people, doing triage there as well. Again, Beth Israel and Bellevue taking in victims apparently from the World Trade Center. In addition, Jim, people on the streets, I can tell you, along First Avenue walking around totally stunned. The TV sets in some shops are turned on loud, pointed out toward the streets as people come out of their apartments to watch these developments as they unfold. But again, at Beth Israel, they have many ambulances that are standing by to go to the area. We also understand Beekman Hospital is where many of the injured. I was running my way there to try to get coverage there when I stopped at Beth Israel to get the situation here. And as you might imagine, medical personnel are running around the area preparing to take in more victims.
I'm sure they will. By the way, I should tell the viewers, Mario, that you're looking at the picture on Fox News Channel. They have a reporter on the ground. Perhaps we could listen to that interview.
It's in the World Financial Center. Right across the street. World Financial Center is right across the street from the Marriott Hotel. And when we were walking by, you look at the Marriott Hotel, I don't even think it's there anymore. So, well,
I don't know what else to ask you. I mean, it's just an incredible story. It's just horrible.
it's an absolute shame.
Do you think you know people who were on the floors that were hit?
You just pray when they evacuated people. Unfortunately, they evacuated people both sides of the World Financial Center. I don't know if if you're talking talking about the other side. We were by the water, by the ferries and Moran's in that area. You just hope the people on the other side, they've actually evacuated them out, and that's the fear, I guess, with this building here. You just see the fire like 20 stories. You worry about the building giving out, and it did.
How far away from the building were you when it collapsed?
I was right by where the people get on for the ferry, right next to Moran's, to the right of Moran's.
So 10 blocks, 20 blocks?
10 blocks away. And then there was a decent crowd, and that's when everyone just dispersed.
All right. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What's your name?
All right, Rick Leventhal.
Where are you from?
With Fox News Channel.
As Rick Leventhal continues to report from the streets of Manhattan, as this devastation occurs and continues to unfold, and you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, there is only one.
Can they hear?
There you're listening. You're listening to the Fox News Channel, their coverage of the catastrophe. But I must say, and I hate to say this, but we had eyewitness reports earlier on that the World Trade Center being 110 stories high, there were people who were falling from the windows and who were jumping. Let's listen to this interview from Rick Leventhal.
We thought the building was going to topple over. It was going so.
Well, one of them did.
One of them did. We were in town one. We made it out.
Well, you're a lucky man.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Clearly, this is a nationwide catastrophe, but folks...
Rick Leventhal talking to several eyewitnesses down there. That looks like another gentleman.
Call your loved ones. If you have any other way, perhaps email. If you have any other way of contacting...
we're not listening to the interview on Fox News Channel, so we'll come back.
James, can I just step in 1 second? We do have reports that the State Department has been hit.
So virtually every important office building in Washington State, Treasury, too late for the Pentagon because the attack has already hit there, but that is being evacuated as well.
And we should mention that the New York City Fire Department is appealing to anyone who's off duty or on vacation. Please, if you're a fire person, please report to work immediately. They need your help. Obviously, after we saw the planes hit the building, we kind of thought everything was over. It's not over. One tower has collapsed. People on the ground are getting hurt, if not killed. The story just seems not to be anywhere near ending.
Well, listen to this.
Flying out of the sky and you can't do nothing about it. You tell me. You tell me what you think. I mean, my heart's in my mouth. I mean, I pray for these people. There's no words to describe what's going on out there. I mean, you see bodies just coming a half hour later, still coming out of the goddamn sky. Devastating. Devastating. I can't imagine anything worse than this. There's got to be... I can't imagine. Everybody on the plane must have died. The floor, I got friends of mine on 104th floor, friends on other buildings. I just spoke to one of my friends a half hour prior to that, getting ready to go upstairs to go to work. It's devastating. I mean, I've seen a lot of construction accidents. I've seen a lot of bad things happen. I've never seen a jet fall out of the sky into a building, no less once, but twice. Devastating.
I want to bring into the conversation...
we'll just add to what that gentleman said, that there is reason to feel that way because he mentioned that the plane must have been fully occupied. We're told that there were 158 passengers and a crew of 9 or 10 aboard that plane, so that's just for openers, the number of people killed. And again, we've had eyewitnesses telling us that people were falling from the upper floors, were jumping out the upper floors in apparent panic. So it is, by any stretch of the imagination, a terrible, terrible tragedy. We're also told that an organization that calls itself the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine is claiming responsibility.
Now, do you wonder if they have any connection to Osama bin Laden? I've heard that they don't.
I don't know.
I don't know
I've never
if
heard
that's
of that
been
outfit
confirmed.
before.
Right.
Have you heard?
I've never heard of that outfit before either, but I wonder if they have any...
Front for it, yes.
Right.
No, the name is familiar. I have heard the name mentioned before.
But I believe they don't have any connection to Osama
bin Laden.
But you know what? This is all unconfirmed right now. I think what goes through your mind is, how did this slip past the FBI? How did this slip past the FBI with all these different attacks in 2 different states? Maybe our expert here.
The FBI, what does the CIA do?
The question you raised before we went off and saw some of the interviews was, would they be criticized for it? And the answer is, hindsight's always wonderful to say what we should have done, and probably they and other intelligence gatherers will be criticized. What you have to do, if you want to stop this, what you really have to do is infiltrate these organizations very early on. You can't put somebody in once it happens. You have to put them in, as the city police did years and years ago, and let them come up through the ranks. And that was stopped. Courts said you can't do that because we have to protect rights, and we don't do it. And what we have to now rethink and rebalance is what kind of restrictions we're going to suffer, which we have to in order to stop this. You can't take a person or stop a person from committing suicide. That gets proved in all over the Mideast every day of the week now, it seems. But we ought to be able to better restrict and better confront the people who are causing this, and we're not doing that.
Well, short of changing the Constitution, how do you go about it?
Well, you don't have to violate the Constitution necessarily to find out what people are doing. There's a right of privacy and there's an expectation of privacy, but that doesn't mean you can't have people infiltrate the groups. It means you're going to have to spend a considerable amount of time, effort, manpower, womanpower getting into these groups and gathering intelligence. And it means you're going to have to give up some of the things that the Constitution may or may not protect, but you need to do in order to protect people.
A friend of mine works for the FBI. He's, out in the field. He's an agent. And he tells me all the time that he's on surveillance outside people's houses who are known terrorists or possible terrorists. And they're constantly watching these people. So what I'm asking again is, how did this slip by? I mean, we can say, 20/20 hindsight, but this was obviously a synchronized planned attack on 2 states.
But are they watching the people in this country or the people in other countries?
Oh my goodness, look at the screen.
Goodness.
Oh my God.
Both towers down.
Oh my God.
I hope they evacuated everybody out of that area, because
Covered in smoke.
In the world's history, the smoke and debris from this collapse undoubtedly causing yet more mayhem, more death, more destruction.
You're hearing unedited live sounds from the scene of that crash. But the collapse of the tallest building in New York.
one of the great symbols of New York, if not this country, if not the world, forever erased from our memory.
No, I think it will always be in our memory, that's for sure, but definitely erased from our skies. This is just unbelievable.
A live picture from Chopper 5 showing the collapse of the World Trade Center.
What do we do now? Mr. Jaffe, what do we do now? You said I shouldn't be angry, maybe I shouldn't, but I am very, very angry by this, and we shouldn't let it shut us down.
No.
But this is a tremendous impact on our lives. Where do we go from here? What should we do? How do we respond?
I think we take a very deliberate course of action, which may take a week, a month, a year, where we start to put ourselves on track to understand that we are the target in a war, and we have to fight it, which means we have to make sacrifices to protect ourselves while we go on. And we have to dedicate some resources that we haven't so that this type of thing doesn't.
This picture is surreal. It almost looks like we're frozen in time.
This is what we have dreaded forever. We went through 40 years after the war with our not having any real domestic violence. And now it's caught us. And now we have to put ourselves in a position.
And I understand, Mr. Jaffe, that this tragedy has not ended yet, because the Capitol Police in Washington are now reporting that a plane has been hijacked, and they fear it is heading toward the Capitol building in Washington, which, as we have reported, has been evacuated, but yet another clear symbol of our country and our government and our way of life.
You also have to wonder all the police personnel and fire department who were called to Lower Manhattan to help the people in the Trade Center. Let's hope they're okay now, too, with this collapse of the tower.
Yes, indeed. There were, I'm sure, plenty of rescue workers who were in and around that building. And with that collapse, I'm sure...
What about the command center?
More
the command
devastation.
center.
The command center is, I think, in Tower 5 of the World Trade Center. And there's no way of telling whether that's intact. One would suspect that looking at that picture there, that live picture, that the command center is not in very good shape either.
And you have to wonder just how far this reached. I mean, you're talking about Wall Street is nearby, you know, a place that the world looks to.
Okay, the gentleman who said that the Marriott didn't appear to be there.
History, yeah. Well, his vantage point was around by the financial center there, which is ironically built on the. They're talking to me in my ear. All right, this is we have tape, I understand, a few minutes ago. This is the collapse as viewed from the ground. That picture just a few moments ago, you heard the people reacting in terror and horror as the World Trade Center simply collapsed. And apparently it is not over. Again, to repeat, we have a report from the Capitol Police that another plane has been hijacked, and they are afraid that that plane is heading for the Capitol building, which along with any other important building in Washington has been evacuated. And just to tell you, if you're outside the island of Manhattan, don't try to come in today. There's no way you can get in, and people are streaming out as quickly as possible.
Well, I believe bridges and tunnels have all been closed, and certainly any subway station that goes through the World Trade Center.
So, does that mean, as well, I would guess that anybody who is in Manhattan now
will be walking, if they can.
Yeah, Dick Oliver reported from near the Brooklyn Bridge before that that people were streaming across the bridge toward Brooklyn, but nobody coming back in.
I'm surprised that the Brooklyn Bridge has not been closed.
I think.
Well, maybe to pedestrians, you know.
I'm sure that they closed the Midtown Tunnel and they closed the other bridges across the East River, and of course the Hudson River crossings as well. And again, to repeat, there is no plane taking off in America today as a consequence of this unbelievable terrorist act. Mario Bosques has gone to Beth Israel Hospital downtown. Mario, are you there? All right, Mario, at Beth Israel Hospital downtown, where some of the victims of this terrible tragedy are being taken, you would imagine that, my goodness, the carnage must be unbelievable. deaths may number in the thousands. I mean, the World Trade Center is the largest office building in this city, simply collapsed. You fear to even make an attempt at defining the enormity of this tragedy.
I mean, not only the people in the tower, the people on the ground now you have to be concerned about.
Sure, as you mentioned before, rescue workers there when the building collapsed some time after the initial crash.
And I know my husband, who was like a few blocks away from there, was told around 9:15 to evacuate. I hope he got the heck out of there and came home on his way home.
Rosanna, your colleague in the evening, John Rowland, is down in the newsroom right now talking about what's happening in Washington. John?
Yes, good afternoon, Jim. Trying to drink all of this in as you are. The enormity of this, of course, is beyond anybody in this business in this entire city.